Hi there, it's Neil again on a wonderful heartfelt afternoon again. I'm standing in a little park just down the road from where I live, and down behind me there's the Bromfontein Spruit, and we had a downpour about an hour ago, and that spruit rose to about 2 meters, and I was very keen to come on and do the video in the middle of a thunderstorm, but I thought no, you wouldn't hear a word, so okay, I chickened out and I waited for the rain to finish, and here I am. Thanks, I see somebody's already joined me. For those of you, as you join, please feel free to make comments on what I say, disagree with me, agree with me, ask me questions, please. If there's anything I mentioned that you think I'm sort of sucking information out of my left toe, just give me a shout and challenge me. I'm happy to be challenged, because I only really speak about stuff that I'm actually doing. And anyway, so if anything I say really makes sense to you, and you're quite keen to find out how to do this for yourself, just look us up on organicgrowth.co.za/coach, and we'd be happy to assist. So without further ado, let me get into today's video, which I've titled 5 reasons why it's good to invest in townhouses. People are always looking to how to invest, and when you're investing, you're always looking at where do I get my best rate of return? How do I get my best rate of return? You obviously want to multiply your money. I don't think saving money is going to really get you anywhere. You can't save for retirement. There's just not enough time to save. So we've got to multiply our cash, and we've got to gear it, and we've got to get leverage and all these things. So I'm just going to look at this point, I'm just going to look at 5 main reasons why to invest in townhouses. And the first one is the low barrier to entry. If you're an investor or a person who wants to get into property investment, there's no other investment in the world that enables you to actually borrow 100% of the money you want to invest. So with a townhouse, you can actually borrow 100% of the purchase price, and all you have to come up with is about 5 or 10% of in fact normally about 4 or 5% of the price, which is your transfer costs, your bond and registration costs, come to about 4% of the total cost if it's a smallish townhouse in the sort of 700,000-800,000 rand range. So for literally, let's call it 5% of the purchase price is all you have to raise. The rest the bank lends you, and then you have to subsidize your bond over a period of time for a few years, and thereafter it pays for itself. Your tenants and the banks are paying for your investment for you, and all you need is patience and a bit of property management over a few years, and you've actually got an investment that other people have paid for. The investors call it the opium, other people's money. You invest other people's money is the way to go to get ahead, and really you are doing that. You're investing the bank's money for your own investment. So the next point number 2, another reason to invest in buy-to-let townhouses is to retire early. If you're investing in a good area, in Johannesburg, we're looking at the good northern suburbs areas, you find that there's a rule of thumb here that says that people in those areas spend about 20 to 25% of their purchase price. Sorry, they spend 20 to 25% of their monthly household income they spend on rental. So do the maths. All you have to do is buy 4 or 5 of those townhouses in an area, and wait for the tenants and everything to pay it off. Maybe take you 12, 13, 14, 15 years. If you take all the rental income, as the rental income goes up, you take that money, plow it back into your bond, you're going to find that in 15 years time you can retire on the average salary of a dweller of that suburb. And it's a formula that keeps track of inflation, because we're looking at the cost of living, not actually tracking what percentage inflation is rising at. So it's a brilliant way to actually plan for retirement. So you try saving for retirement. It's just not possible. And in today's I've done the numbers. You try and take out a retirement annuity. You're just saving and saving and saving. In fact, if you want to see the exact numbers regarding comparing property investment with townhouses, with buying, say, an RA, then scroll down in this page and you'll find I did a video, a Facebook Live video I think about a year ago, where I compared one townhouse with a retirement annuity, and we had about 200,000 views, which was really crazy. Okay, so the third reason to invest in townhouses I'm giving is to educate your children. And again, I did a video, I think a couple of days ago, where I told the story of how when my daughters were, I think they were about 11, 12, I bought them each a townhouse, and welcome Warren, see Warren's just joined me. When I bought them each a townhouse. I bought a townhouse, and then a few years later, took a second bond on that townhouse and used that money to pay for a full scholarship. So that's one way of doing it. The other way you can do it is wait about 10 years or so. So in other words, you buy a townhouse for your young child, and the first few years, again, you're subsidizing the shortfall between your costs and the rental. But as the rental climbs, by the time you get to about year 10, 11, that property will almost be paying your entire fees of your child. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old boy, and I did exactly this when he was a toddler. When he was 1 year old, I bought a townhouse in his name, or for him actually. It's in my name, but I know who I bought it for. And that townhouse is already paying his school fees. It's within about a few $100 of his total school fees at the moment. And I know every year, as the rentals go up, his school fees will go up. That townhouse will carry on paying his school fees right through school, and will pay for his varsity fees as well. Okay, now I'm going to get to the last two, the number 4 and 5. Now these are the really exciting ones. These are things that you actually, it's logical, but until you've done it, you don't realize, wow, this is very powerful stuff. And the fourth one I've got here is that your tenant pays for your investment. Now, it sounds a little bit, I had a friend who said, oh, you're taking money off widows and orphans, but not at all. As a buy-to-let investor, you're providing a really good service. You are paying for it. You are providing a townhouse that somebody's going to rent in. And there's a whole sort of group of society, people in their sort of early 20s, early 30s, they're very, very mobile. They've just come out of varsity. They've got their jobs. They're starting their careers. They don't want to buy yet. They're going to rent here for a while. They're going to get another job in another part of the city and so on. They're not interested in buying for a good few years. And we provide accommodation in that niche. So what happens here is that, as I said earlier, when you buy a townhouse and you're getting a 100% bond, you have to pay down 5%. And typically the numbers at the moment are that you've got to subsidize your bond for about 4 or 5 years, and thereafter your tenant pays everything. So you get and then all that happens is this is wealth transfer. So it takes about 10, 12, 13 years, depending on a few factors. That property becomes yours, fully paid for by your tenants. I mean, it's a joke. And I had a friend, Brian, who actually says it seems illegal. It seems illegal, but it's fine. In fact, what I'm going to do is I get. In fact, I'm surprised I haven't got the question yet. On this video, people say, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? Prove it to me. So I'm going to do a video in the near future where I'm actually going to I'll get out a whiteboard and I'll lay down the numbers and I'll do a case study. And I think the best thing to do is just give you a case study and show you what I've actually done. And I'm not boasting. Anybody can do this. In fact, a lot of people do it. But most people who are doing it aren't telling everybody. But I'm telling everybody how to do it. And if you want to know the actual details, the best way to do it is just hook up with me on Organic Growth /coach and book a coaching session, and I'll take you through the whole process. And then we do it for you, with you. And then, of course, the final reason number 5 for why to invest in townhouses is inflation works for you. Now, wherever you go, people are going to complain about inflation. Oh, inflation, everything costs more, everything costs more, everything costs more. But as a property investor, I actually chuckle. I laugh at inflation. And I'll tell you why. Is that, I'll give you an example. I'll take the example of my first townhouse I bought about 17 years ago. I paid I lie. I did not pay 140,000 Rand. The purchase price was 140,000 Rand. The bank paid 140,000 Rand for me. And let's just assume that I didn't pay my bond off. All I did was paid interest only, which is not really the case, but let's just assume for the sake of this video. In fact, what I could have done is I could have taken out an access bond facility on my property, and any money that's on my bond, and any money that I paid into my bond, I could access again, which I do, which investors do often. That's the one way to get the deposit on your next townhouse and so forth. So let's assume that on my first townhouse, I've taken out an access facility, and I still owe 140,000 rand 16 years later. Now, when I bought that property, my loan to value ratio was 1 to 1, 100%. I had a 100% bond. Okay. Now, let's assume I still owe that same 140,000 rand, but the townhouse is worth 700,000 because inflation. Sure, there was a little bit of, it grew a little bit better than inflation because my area was good and so on. But let's say you invested in an average area in South Africa. Your investment now would be worth 700,000 rand, and you still owe only 140,000 rand. So you owe 20% of the value. Your loan to value ratio is 20%. So basically, all that's happened is inflation has paid your bond off. So as an investor, I don't really, I talk about paying your bond off over 14, 15 years and so on. I really don't bother with that. I just let the bond run. I take a bond for 25 years, as long as I can, because that makes my input easier, you know, makes your bond repayments lower. And I just let it run. And within 15 years, what you owe on your bond is laughable. Eventually you get to the point, if you really want to, you can take a salary check and pay off your bond. So that's what happens with property investment, and I hope these five reasons I gave you resonate with you. And if you want to know how to do it, please go to organicgrowth.co.za/coach. We'll show you how to do it. And please ask some questions. Ask them in the comments below. If during the course of these videos you ask a question and it'll come up on my screen, I can answer the question there and then. And if not, in the actual video, I'll answer it in writing afterwards. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and until next time, cheerio.